guys, and welcome back to Bon Voyage Besties. I'm Rachel, joined by the world's best podcast host, Rosa, and today we are diving headfirst into the beautiful disaster that is travel fails. You know, the moments that weren't on the itinerary, like getting food poisoning, emotional meltdowns in your hotel room. We've had them all. We've cried through them all. I have lost money through them all, and today we are laughing about them. So, Rosa and I, we're going to spill the tea on our biggest travel disasters, tell some juicy stories, and also give you guys some advice for how to bounce back from them. So, without further ado, let's talk about travel fails.
My least favorite topic.
Definitely a good podcast episode topic, though. I think people just love seeing me mess up. I've noticed on Instagram, any post where I even like hint that there was a mess up somewhere, people are all on board.
I feel like for me, it's frustrating when I have a travel fail because I travel often enough and the things that happen, I'm like, I should have known better. So I'm more like embarrassed and disappointed in myself for it because it's usually like human error and not necessarily something that has happened to me while traveling. So for me, my travel fails are just like a personal disaster.
My gosh. So, do you have any travel fail that really sticks out in your mind that you want to share?
I mean, I guess I'll go with one of the moments that made me like cry and sob hysterical.
No!
We'll dive right in. We'll go right into it.
Let's do it. Tell me about what made you cry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So when we went to Iceland, I specifically, one of the highlights of the trip for me was to see the Northern Lights. And I also really wanted to do a tour. So I booked this tour to do a Diamond Beach tour where they were going to pick us up at the hotel in Reykjavik and drive us. I think it's maybe like 2 or 3 hour drive and go to this place where the ice kind of like breaks off and it looks like diamonds all over the beach. It's like pretty cool and epic place. So those were the two things that I really, really wanted to do in Iceland. So we were super lucky. We did get to see the Northern Lights, but it was a really exhausting night. So we got back to our hotel maybe like around 2 or 3 in the morning. And the tour for the Diamond Beach, we were getting picked up at 5:30 in the morning, which meant we literally had less than 3 hours to sleep, get ready, and take the bus. So I put our alarm for like 5 o'clock. And I had told Michael the alarm went off. So I tapped Michael and I was like, Michael, wake up, because he was supposed to get up first to go get ready. So I thought he got up. So I just rolled back into bed and closed my eyes. Next thing I wake up and I was like, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, so I'm freaking out. So normally when I have like an early morning wake up call, like I'll put the alarm and I'll put multiple alarms in case I like decide to snooze or I don't hear it. But we were so exhausted from the day before that I completely forgot to do that. And I just put the one alarm. Like Michael didn't even set an alarm on his phone, nor did Samantha. So we were just relying on me to wake everyone up. So by the time I woke up, it's like 6 o'clock and I'm like trying to call the place, trying to figure it out. And of course, they had already left. So I'm just sitting there like crying, hysterical, sobbing, because there was no way that was going to be our last full day in Iceland. There was no way that we were going to be able to drive because it was a pretty long drive. They had no plans of like renting a car. So needless to say, I sat there for like a good 20 minutes yelling and cursing and crying.
What's so heartbreaking about that too is not just missing out on that experience, it's thinking about the money you've spent for that tour, because that's happened to me before where I've slept through tours for different reasons. I won't really go into why, but you just feel terrible because you're like, I shelled out all this money for this and I didn't wake up in time.
Yeah, and it was pretty expensive. I think this was when we went the first time, 2018, and I think altogether for the three of us, it was probably close to like $400 or $500. And I have to say though, the tour company, they were really, really good because finally, when I was able to get a hold of someone, they offered to put us on a different tour. Do that. They said they weren't able to refund us, but they were able to book us on a different tour. Unfortunately, all the tours that they had during the day, the only one tour that would have worked for us time wise, we already did, which is doing like the Golden Circle. So we did that already. So we didn't want to do that again. So after spending what felt like an eternity crying on the bed, Michael's like, all right, I know you're upset, but this is our last day. Let's just figure it out. And we ended up renting a car. We ended up doing a different area, seeing some really cool waterfalls. We ended up going to Black Sand Beach. So it still turned out to be a pretty epic day. But honestly, I just like crawled back into bed like a child and I was like, I'm not going anywhere.
It's so true. And I think that's the important thing is being able to bounce back from it because it's hard because all you want to do is crawl back into bed and cry. Like I remember when I was in Estonia, I missed this tour to one of the national parks because I had been out with people from the hostel the night before and I slept through the tour. And I just felt like so bad at first. And to make matters worse, the friends that I met at the hostel were teasing me like, oh, we knew you weren't going to make that tour because I kept saying how I had this cool tour booked the next day. I was ready to go, wanted to see this national park. And of course, I slept through it. And I did really just like feel like awful that day, but I made myself get up, walk through the old town. I found a really cool mall, bought my brother a souvenir because it was the same kind of situation. I think that was my last day in Estonia before I went to Finland. And after moping in bed for like an hour or two, I was like, okay, last day here. How am I going to make it worth my while and not have the day be a waste?
Exactly. And that's the thing too. Like when you travel, doesn't matter how often you travel, something's always going to go wrong. And it could be something very simple, like a packing fail, which is pretty typical for me. You would think I would get it right by now, or something big where you're losing on hundreds of dollars, which was the case here in Iceland, but you kind of pivoting and like, it's okay. It's a sulk for like a minute or two. But I was glad that like Michael was like, no, like, let's figure this out. I can drive. Let's rent a car, find something. We'll do something different and we're going to have a great day. And it actually turned out to be probably one of our favorite days, aside from seeing the Northern Lights, which was epic. So we were able to bounce back. So I was glad I had someone. I think if I was there by myself, I probably just would have cried all day.
Yeah, at least you had the support. But something similar actually happened to us in Crete. So we decided that we wanted to go to Balos Beach, which is one of the most popular beaches in Crete. But to get there, the road is really terrible. And I think recently they actually closed it to rental cars because it's just like not suitable for rental cars. Listeners, you may want to double check that. I'm going off memory here. So we decided to book a boat to go out there. So we had the rental car and we were driving to the harbor, and there was really only one highway that goes into the harbor. Well, as we're pulling up, we see like flashing lights, and then we see cop cars. We see fire engines, and we just like come to a complete stop in traffic, and we're just like, oh God. So we park the car and we're about like a 15-minute walk away from the harbor. Like, let's take a walk up and see if we can just like park here and walk the rest to the harbor. So we're walking up and the whole road is closed down because there was a huge accident. Like the car was like steaming a bit. And I didn't quite see what was going on because the other people, they were like holding up a towel to cover what was going on. It must have been really, really bad. And there was no way that they were letting obviously anyone through because it was an emergency. So we turn back around, we go in the car, and my friend had paid for this boat and it was going to leave in 15 minutes. So we're like, let's see if there's any other roads we could take or go on. And we found one, but it was a completely unpaved road. And the car we were in, it was this tiny little car. It could not handle that. Like, even the rental place was like, yeah, if your damage to this car is less than like 2 inches, we're not even going to care. That car was on its last legs, so there was no way it would have been able to handle that road. So we just ended up finding a little tavern to go to have lunch. And it turned out to be lovely because the tavern was right on the beach. The service was really sweet. We got to meet the family there and they brought us free desserts like you do in Greece. And they were just like, yeah, you could use the umbrellas and the beach chairs. And they were for free, which was really nice. So we just ended up staying there all afternoon and it turned out to be absolutely lovely. And my friend did end up emailing the boat company explaining what happened. And they were actually gracious enough to refund him. So we didn't have to be out of money because I kind of figured, well, they're going to probably be hearing from quite a few people about this since it's the main way into the harbor. And if there's like one road to get in, like what can you really do? So at least with that day, it all turned around nicely. And the tour company was gracious enough in that case to refund us because it was totally like out of left field. We weren't expecting a massive car accident to happen right in front of us.
And that was nice of them because, again, you pay for it. Most of the tours that you do when you read a disclaimer, they're like non-refundable. Maybe some of them, depending on what the activity is, maybe they'll have like a clause depending on like the weather or something like that. However, it's not always the case. So that was really nice. But more importantly, that you guys were able to find like this cute little tavern. I feel like sometimes those are like the most like magical days because something similar happened to us when we were in Croatia. And again, human error. So we got to the ferries docking area, the harbor, and we thought it was in one particular area. And this is when we were in Split. And the harbor was pretty big. So the boat was actually leaving from a different area of the harbor. So Michael and I are like running, and I see a boat leaving. I'm like, yep, that's definitely our boat. So we were going to this island and we wanted to go to like this really cool beach area. So I was like, all right, it's a big island. It had multiple time slots throughout the day. I'm sure we can just like take the next ferry out and then just like Uber it or take like a water taxi or something once we get there. So sure enough, I went to the terminal and I explained what happened. They were really nice. They're like, yeah, we can, change. That was the last boat leaving to that particular area, but these are the options. So this is when we were going to the island of Bull. So I picked this one particular area and I was like, all right, let's just go there. That's the next ferry out, or technically the last ferry that was going to go to the island. So we're like, we'll go there. And then from there, we can just Uber it or again, find like a water taxi. Little did I know that the docking area where we were going to go was on the complete opposite side of the island. For like 3 hours, I used up all of my data just like refreshing the Uber app. There's zero Ubers. We went into town, which is a very, very small area. And once we got there, I asked, like, hey, is there like a water taxi or can like we hire someone to take us to this particular? We wanted to go to this place. I think it was called the Golden Horn or something, like a very, very popular beach area in that little island. And they're like, no, none of them are leaving today. You can book something, but it'll be tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, no, is it today or nothing? So same thing. We're like walking around, like refreshing my Uber app. I told Michael, I was like, at this point, like, we're just here. We're here now. We'll end up taking the ferry back in 6 hours. So let's just go find a place to relax, a place to eat, and just like hang out for the day. And sure enough, we ended up finding like this really cute little area for swimming. And it was just like him and I. And there were like a couple of other people also, but they were like further away. So it really felt like we were like in our own secluded little island. So it turned out to be an amazing day, very magical. But again, human error. I thought, okay, this is where all the boats are. Little did I know that the harbor was like really, really big. And there were actually 3 different areas in Split where you can take the ferries depending on what area you're going to. So again, I didn't ask. I just assumed this is where I'm seeing all the boats. So let me just go to this one area, not knowing that it was on the complete opposite side. Making sure that when you are taking like a ferry or a train or any type of public transportation that you ask specifically like where's the terminal or where's the docking area for that particular like company that you're using and area so you don't make the same mistake. But for us, it turned out magical because we had like a little island all to ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like really nice when a travel fail turns into something positive like that because sometimes those moments that you can't plan for turn out to be the most memorable. Like this little beach. Again, the staff was so sweet, so kind. She brought us wine out on the beach and I floated in the water for 2 hours. Then she brought a flower for my hair. She was so cute and it was such a lovely beach and it wasn't jammed packed with all the tourists because I definitely think it was more of a locals beach. So it felt like we were really off the beaten path, just like somewhere that we wouldn't have known to look. So it did really work out. But it's true what you say about like the ferry terminals because especially in some big cities, they definitely have more than one terminal or more than one train station, more than one airport. I've read horror stories like people in London going to Heathrow instead of Gatwick, for example, the 2 different airports. So you definitely, no matter what it is, whether it's a plane, a train, boat, double check the terminal ahead of time because these things happen. And Rosa and I were pretty experienced travelers and they still happen to us. So
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, same thing, and also to get there ahead of time. So one of the things I always like to do is I like to look at, depending where the harbor is located from our hotel. I like to go on Google Map and kind of remember what the time is. So let's say if it's like 30 minutes, I'll add like an extra 15-20 minutes just in case there's traffic or anything happens. So kind of give myself 45 minutes to like an hour to get there. One of the days when we were actually in Greece, we were in Athens and we were going to do a day trip to Idra. And I looked it up. Our hotel was like a 20-minute drive to the harbor. So I was like, all right, so 45 minutes is more than enough time. Nope. Same thing. We got there and I see our boat just leaving. So same thing. I went to the counter. They said, and I specifically had booked that one, and they only had business class seats. So our tickets were like pretty expensive to go on this particular boat because that was the earlier boat. And by the time I booked the tickets we decided to go there, they were pretty expensive because they only had like business class seats.
My God.
When I went exactly when I went to the counter, same thing, and I kind of already knew. She was like, no, this was the last one. I can get you tickets like with a different company. You'll have to pay out of pocket, and then unfortunately she's like, I can't refund you, but you can use it at a later date. And I'm like, yeah, there is no later date. Like I leave like in 2 days, so this is not gonna happen. So long story short, we just called it a day, went with the other company, ended up having to pay for the tickets, and then we finally got to the island. And it was beautiful because the island itself was gorgeous. It was one of our highlights and day trips from Greece. So it was very enjoyable. But again, I didn't give myself enough time. And in full disclosure, this is the one day that we were actually ready, like super duper early. And I decided I wanted to take pictures in the rooftop pool while there was like no one there. So I dragged Samantha upstairs with me and I was like, hey, come take some photos of me. So we're upstairs taking like pictures. And then I come downstairs and then I'm like, all right, time to go. So we leave. And I hated all the freaking pictures.
Instagram caused you to miss your boat.
Yeah. So I think altogether we lost maybe like $200 or something.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the traffic in Athens, or really any big city, you really have to account for traffic because something similar happened to us. So before we went to Crete, we spent a couple days in Athens and we took a tour out to Poseidon's temple and we went for the sunset tour. And I didn't realize when I had booked it, it was so worth it. It's beautiful. But I didn't realize that sunset was so late. It was going on 9:15 at night, which I should have known it was going to be late because it's in the summer. But then coming back, it took a much longer time than I thought to go back to Athens because of the traffic. We didn't get in till like 10:30 at night and we hadn't eaten dinner or anything. So we're like, well, let's find somewhere to eat. But believe it or not, a lot of places the kitchens were closed and we couldn't find anything. So we ended up going to this French fry fast food joint called Potato King. And Potato King saved us because it was getting pretty dire. I have nothing but good things to say about Potato King. So Potato King, if you are listening to this, thank you because we were starving. And we didn't even think of it. We stopped at like a little like cafeteria on the way out to Poseidon's temple. And the guide was like, oh yeah, grab some food if you want. But we didn't like stop to think that this was the only chance we'd have to eat anything until after 10:30 at night. So again, if you're taking a tour, always read the fine print with the itinerary because it really caught us by surprise just getting in so late. And then there being traffic so late as well. Like Athens is a very big city and it's really like sprawled out. So it took us longer than we thought. Thank you, Potato King. Love you.
Gotta love it. Something similar happened to us when we were in Italy and coming back. We had like a late night ferry coming from Positano back to Rome. And same thing, I didn't really think about it. We had like a pretty late lunch, so we weren't really hungry for dinner time. So we're like, oh, we'll just get something when we get back. And then I completely just forgot that it was going to take us like 3 hours to get back to Rome. So by the time we got there, we ended up going to a very sketchy McDonald's, but it did the trick.
McDonald's, honestly, in a
It's a
pinch, it's
lifesaver.
a lifesaver. I cannot count. I've lost track of the amount of times McDonald's has saved me when I've been hungry and there's nowhere to eat. So another travel fail, speaking of McDonald's, is always checking the weather and actually dressing appropriately for the weather. Because I think I mentioned this on another episode, but when I first started traveling solo, one of the cities I really wanted to go to was Paris. And another girl I met at the hostel and we went out to Versailles and we wanted to see Marie Antoinette's Hamlet, but we didn't quite know where to go. So we're walking around in Versailles. The grounds are huge. And all of a sudden, this rain rolls in. And I'm sure I knew about it and it was in the forecast, but just forgot to check. But I was underdressed, no umbrella. I had a coat on that had no hood. And this rain just like poured on us and we're trying to like get back and we saw the little tourist train but we knew that they charged a lot of money, so don't do this. We refused to pay for the tourist train, so we walked like a good 20 minutes in this torrential rain and we saw the McDonald's that was in the town of
Like the
Versailles and like
golden
went,
arc.
yes,
You're like,
the golden arches. I'm like, yes, I feel like such an American. I'm like, the golden arches are here to save me. I was drenched and then like 2 days from then I got sick, probably because like when you travel, your immune system takes a hit, and then just like not dressing appropriately for the weather, I'm sure that didn't help. So I was like the last 2 days in Paris, sick as a dog, coughing, chapped lips. It was like a mess. But yeah, dress appropriately for the weather. That's another thing that's well within your control. Like check the forecast ahead of time. Don't be like me, ignore the forecast and be like, I'll go to Versailles, not wear a hood, not bring an umbrella in Paris in November. It's fine. No, it's not fine.
I know. I've had a lot of packing fails. I know one time the first time going to California, we were going to go to LA and then we're going to spend a few days in San Francisco. So I looked at the weather in LA. I was like, oh, it's summertime. It's like in the 80s, 90s. So, we packed. When we got to San Francisco, it was freaking cold. So even for us being like on the East Coast, going to San Francisco, like it was cold. It was cold. And we ended up having to like go to like a souvenir store and buy like jackets because we were like, what the heck? We were not prepared for the cold weather. So we had to get like a couple of hoodies because we were going to spend, I think, like 4 or 5 days in San Francisco. So we're like, yeah, no, we're not going to survive. So I had to buy like some hoodies and stuff. But I just assume it's California. So the weather's going to be the same in LA, then it's going to be in San Francisco. So yeah, even if you're traveling in one country or one like state, looking, at the weather accordingly because it can change from sometimes city to city and the different regions that you're traveling to. But just this trip to that I just recently had, I actually had two really bad packing fails.
Let's hear it. Packing fails are the best. And guys, if you have not listened to our packing episode, you need to do that because it's funny.
Yeah. And you would think by now, like before I used to have a checklist and now I'm like, oh yeah, no, I have this whole packing thing down. I'm good. No, I'm not. I need to go back to my checklist because I tend to forget. One of the things I forgot during this trip. So I was packing all of my stuff the day before and I was getting like all my camera gear because we were going to be at the Serengeti. So I was like, let me bring my professional camera, bring my different lenses. So I'm like packing everything. And then I was looking for my SD card that had the most memory and it was like brand new. So I had it all laid out. I'm like packing my bag. Guys, I forgot my SD card in my dining room. Yeah. Yes. So, well, it was fine. I ended up having to go while we were in Arusha. Our guide was so sweet. He was like out there. He was on a mission to find me a new SD card. So, of course, I needed to shell out some shillings and buy myself a new SD card. So it all worked out well. And I was able to capture some amazing photos through our safari adventure. But I'm like, really? And it took up some time of our city tour because we ended up walking to two different places to find the SD card that I wanted because I also didn't want to spend so much money because I had an SD card back home. So I was like, whatever. But if I have to, I'm going to have to dish out like $70, $80 for an SD card. So then finally he found me another place that had like smaller gigs. So I ended up buying it. So it was all fine. But another one of my packing fails also for this trip, I didn't pack my shoes accordingly.
God, I feel like that's the story of my life. My first solo trip, I did the same thing. Like, pack good shoes, people.
Yeah, yeah. So initially I was gonna bring like my sneakers, like nice sneakers, because I figure I can wear them with like my shorts, my dresses. It's kind of versatile. So I didn't really want to kind of overpack. But of course I ended up overpacking too much clothes. So I was only able to bring one pair of sneakers and like my sandals with me. So I was like, whatever, I'll just use these sneakers for everything. They're not really gonna get dirty. Like what's the worst that's gonna happen? Yeah. We went on a waterfall and I'm going to have to post a photo. So make sure you're following us on Instagram because you're going to want to see the conditions of my shoes. Like, oh my God, it was horrendous. It was to the point like my feet, it felt like a suction because it was like super muddy. It had like rained really hard the night before and that morning while we were going to the waterfall. So it was like super muddy. All you hear was the squishing sounds and it felt like suction. Like my shoe was just like getting stuck. At one point, mud was like inside my shoe, like in my feet. It was horrible.
I can't even handle like water in my shoes or like a little stone or something. If I had like mud filled in my shoes, I would turn into a princess. I would turn into a brat, and then they would never want me on a trip again.
It was the worst. I mean, it was worth it because the waterfall was pretty cool and pretty epic. But yeah, my shoes were a disaster. Thankfully, when we got to the hotel, they were able to like clean it for us. Michael and Samantha just ended up throwing theirs away or like giving them away. And then for me, those are the only sneakers I passed. I was like, no, these, I gotta wear them again. And they were brand new sneakers. Like, I think I only wore them like twice. So now every time I look at them, I'll think of Tanzania and my travel
Yes.
fails.
Yes. It's always so frustrating, again, when it's something you've packed. And I think I talked about this on a previous episode with Quebec City. I did the same thing. For some reason, I thought it was smart to pack rain boots in winter in Quebec City. And it's like, no, girl, you need actual snow boots. So I was like limping around. I had blisters. And then I had to buy brand new snow boots. They're beautiful. I'll use them again. I love them. But it was like $120 that I wasn't planning on spending. And then the rain boots, I was just so pissed off. I threw them out. I was just like, these are staying here.
Yeah, it's the worst. And again, we travel often enough, and you think that, I'm pretty good. I like to do research. I always like to know. I look at the weather. I look at the places that I'm traveling to. So, like, even going to the waterfall, like, I saw photos of them, but I just didn't think it was going to be muddy. I thought it was going to be like kind of terrain. So I was like, oh, yeah, these sneakers will be fine for everything. I mean, I survived the trip. I did fall one time, but
The important thing is that you survived. Like
I survived.
I always say, like, especially when it comes to like whether it's your suitcase, your sneakers, clothes, electronics, whatever, as long as you come back in one piece, all that other stuff can be fixed. It can be purchased again, rectified, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, I know. And even too, like we said at the beginning of the episode, it sucks when you have a travel fail or something happens and you're losing money, because I've had that happen numerous times, and it's very frustrating because like I work hard. So it's like I can't just be giving my money away and get nothing out of it. So it's a little sad and disappointing when I like mess up or something happens that it costs me money. But I think one of my biggest travel fails when it comes to finances was during our trip to Peru. So we had booked a hotel and we were staying in Cusco. And I found this hotel, it was pretty cool. And I had booked it through like Expedia, or I forget what platform I had used at the time. But I booked it, I paid for it, we were all set. I completely forgot that I had booked that hotel because I ended up booking a secondary hotel that I also fully paid for. And when we got to the airport, I had contacted the hotel beforehand and I arranged like the pickup and everything. So when we got to the airport in Cusco, I was like looking out for the name of the hotel, like the shuttle. Didn't come, didn't come. So I'm looking at Michael and Samantha. I was like, well, maybe I gave them the wrong date or the wrong time. Like, I don't know. That's weird because I could have sworn like 100% it was all set that they were picking us up. So long story short, I was like, you know what? It's been like 30 minutes now. We waited a little longer. We're like, it's almost like 45 minutes at this point. Let's just get a taxi and I'll just, figure it out with the hotel. And it was an extra service I had paid for. I was like, I'll just tell them to like refund me or whatever the case is. So we jump in a taxi. I had the confirmation of the hotel. I show the taxi driver the address. He drops us off. So we get there and we're checking in. And at this time, I didn't have a Wi-Fi service and I couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi at the lobby. So I'm talking to the receptionist. She's checking us in. And I'm like, oh, by the way, I booked the taxi. The taxi never showed. She's like, oh, that's weird because that's not a service that we provide. We don't have a shuttle, like a direct shuttle. And I was like, really? Because I have a confirmation. So long story short, I was like, you know what? I'll figure this out later. Once I'm on the Wi-Fi. Finally, we're checked into a room. I log onto the Wi-Fi. I looked at Michael and Samantha. I'm like, guys, we're at the wrong hotel. What? I was like, I booked two different hotels. So the reservation I made was for the other hotel, which is the place I really, really wanted to stay at. But the hotel that I had booked ended up being more expensive where we had checked into. So at this point, I couldn't even like cancel the other hotel because it was like non-refundable.
Shit.
So needless to say, that was my biggest travel fare because I think that cost me like almost $1,000. So yeah.
Oh my God, it's those like big numbers that just like makes your heart sink. And like something like that, it's devastating. Like I remember a flight from Newark to Madrid, our first night got like canceled because United canceled. And those first two nights of hotels, we couldn't change it. So it was like $1,000.
It's frustrating. So now, I mean, but that taught me one lesson that I take away with me. It's one, don't book more than one hotel.
You can't be in two places at the same time.
Walking in the city center, and I was like, oh, look.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Like, I'm sitting here wondering what I would even do if I'm like, I booked two hotels. Like, my trip to Paris that's coming up, my friend picked a different hotel, and I like triple checked that I had canceled it because that is something I would do is forget and then get billed for this hotel that I'm not staying at.
And then like typical style, some way somehow like blame Michael and Samantha for my for my job. I said, this is all your fault because you guys don't plan anything. Maybe 1,000 or maybe just like a little bit more because we were only gonna be there for like two or three nights. But yeah, so it taught me that one. It's to like always double check my reservations, making sure that I don't overbook myself, that I'm booking for the correct dates. And also too, because that also has happened to me traveling to Europe. And another thing that I personally don't like to do anymore is book hotels or accommodation where it's non-refundable.
God, no, I'm too scared to do that. Like, because I know I'll change my mind or change my dates or
That's my
something.
problem. Yeah. I'm always afraid that I'm going to find like a better deal or something better. So I'm always afraid of like just booking it where it's 100% like if you don't show up or need to cancel. So now, even if it costs me a little bit more, I'd rather just pay once I get there than to pay ahead of time, unless I really, really have to, or like I'm just like 1 or 2 nights and I'm for sure want to stay at a specific destination. Then to save money, I will pay ahead of time. But normally, I like to book options that are refundable or that I just pay once I get to the hotel. Again, even if it costs me a little bit more money.
Yeah, totally. And that would be like a big piece of advice I would have for our listeners, like avoid non-refundable hotels because like you said, like your dates could change, you could find a better deal elsewhere. And I just feel better knowing that I could pay right at the property because even say like if your flight gets canceled and you have some flexibility in your itinerary, like if you have something that's non-refundable, like you could be screwed out of all this money for something you didn't even do.
Yeah. And another thing that happened, I think this is when we were going to Italy, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember if it was what country it was, but it was somewhere in Europe. No, actually this was in Spain. So we were in Spain and I had booked our accommodation for the hotel. And thankfully I realized this like before we got to Spain and I was able to change everything, contact the hotel. But like for instance, for us being the United States, like let's say today is July 27, 2025. We would say 7/27,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
2025 versus like Europe, it would be like 27/7, 2025. So for this particular trip, we were traveling like at the beginning of April. So let's just say April 10th. So instead of me doing 10/4/2025, put how I would do it in the US for 10/2025. So essentially, I have booked the hotel for October, not April. And then I'm doing all like the confirmation and everything. And then finally, when they sent me something and like my phone went to save it on the calendar, I was like, why is it saving it in October? And then that's when it hit me like, oh, wait, I messed up and put the wrong dates.
Yeah, always like triple check your dates because, like you said, like other countries may do the dates differently than the United States. Like the day and the month are switched, and you could like pick a totally different month, like 6 months out, 7 months out.
Yes,
And if you don't catch it, that could be a problem. Just show up with no hotel book. Depending on
exactly.
where you're at, that's really bad.
No, exactly. And thanks to Google and adding it to my calendar, that's when it clicked in my head. I was like, wait a minute, what did I do? And again, I had been to Europe multiple times and I know this is how they write their dates and I still messed that up.
Yeah, it can just happen. So, would you say, like, with double booking the hotel, that was the most expensive travel fail you've had?
By far, yeah, definitely. And again, it's human error. And I think at that time I had transitioned in my job and it was like pretty like hectic time for me. So normally like I would write everything down and I had like spreadsheets where I would keep like the name of the hotels that I wanted to stay in, the reservation number, like everything. And I didn't put it in there and I completely like forgot about it and I didn't realize that I had paid for it, like honestly, completely don't know how, but I completely overlooked that fact. And yeah, it was pretty costly. And then I even tried to dispute it to like my credit card at the time, but once they realized like the error was really like on my part, they didn't. I think like the hotel they might have like refunded me like 1 night or something, but we still came out of pocket pretty heavy. But at least I never had, I mean, I've had a couple of scary travel fails, but I've never had one of those moments, aside from crying, because I've done that plenty of times on my trips whenever I have a travel fail. But have you ever had one of those we're never getting out of this alive travel fail moment?
I've never had one of those, thank God, where it's like I legit like feared for my safety. Been ripped off before and scammed before. And this was years ago when I was still pretty young. I was in my 20s and we were in Prague and we stayed out late at one of the nightclubs and we just got into like an unmarked cab, which don't ever do that. That is not a very smart decision to make. And he scammed us out of so many euros. I forget exactly what the price was, but we were just like threw euro bills at him and then just like jumped out of the cab. So thankfully that didn't end up too badly or he didn't get angry or aggressive or anything. because that was a situation that could have went south pretty quickly, but never anything where I'm just like, oh my God, I'm not getting out of this alive. I have done dumb things where I've gotten sick overseas, just like a cold or something like that, where it's not a serious illness. But there was one time in Poland, I was about halfway through the 7 week trip and I was feeling really sick and I had white patches on my throat and I was not feeling well. And one of the girls in the hostel was a doctor and she had just graduated med school in Australia. And she gave me just like these random pills and I didn't know what they were. And she was like, well, take these and you'll feel better. So I just took them, not thinking anything of it. And then the next day I felt great. I felt awesome. And she told me that I was really lucky because that could have gone either way. Those were her words, not mine. So that's where my fault. Don't take random pills.
Glad that you're alive. Kids, note this out. Do not say no to drugs. All kinds of drugs.
Probably like Tylenol or something. I don't know. I tell myself that. And I'm like, but I was sick and she was a doctor supposedly. And she's like, oh yeah, like you'll feel better. And I did. And then she was like, yeah, like you could have gotten like sicker. I'm glad you didn't.
Did you ask her for credentials?
No, I didn't ask for anything. I was just like, oh yeah, like it's totally fine, whatever. Like I don't really sometimes think, and that's like a bad thing, whether it's with this boat ride that we did in Crete. My friend was smart enough to ask for like a life jacket. I didn't even think anything of it. I'm just like hanging out. I just like jump in the water. It's just like safety for some reason just goes by the wayside, which if you are listening to this and you're a family member or a former student of mine, don't take advice from me, please.
Do as I say, not as I do. That's my motto as a parent.
Exactly. I will say though, for me, probably the most expensive travel fail was this recent one when my phone took a swim in the Gulf of Heraklion. Gosh, so like, and I feel like this kind of travel fail, it's because we are so dependent on our cell phones for everything. Like, I know for me, I store my plane tickets, I store my hotel reservations. And this is really super embarrassing. And I don't know if it's the same for you, Rosa. I don't have any of my family members' numbers memorized since like switching over to smartphones. I just never think to write down my mother's phone number or my brother's or anything. Oh,
I do memorize my mom's because I use that at CVS all the time.
Does she have like a membership at CVS and you get the coupons?
She does. So I have that one memorized. So she would be my lifeline / emergency contact.
Oh my God, I still remember my childhood house phone number, but like that's the landline number and I don't think it even exists anymore. So that's the only one that I remember from like when I was 6 years old. But yeah, so this story, it is such a mess. So something that all travelers should do, if you have any important phone numbers, passwords, anything, please write them down because we rely on our phones a little too much. So basically what happened was we were at Heraklion, which is Crete's biggest city, and we went out to the port area where the fort and all of that is. And we're all like walking like in a group. Well, I'm taking a million different pictures. So I keep stopping with my phone to take pictures. Well, I stop again to take a picture and one of my travel companions bumps into me. I jerk forward and the phone like flies out of my hand, does a little spin in the air and then just goes right in the bay. Like,
oh my God, I hope you got that. I hope you got.
We did not get it on camera. We did not get it on camera. But I was just like standing there in shock. Well, of course, like he understandably feels really bad and is apologizing. So I'm trying to calm him down because then I feel bad because it was a total accident. Like it was just one of those things. We just collided. So I'm trying to calm him down. And then my two other friends are walking ahead of me and they weren't quite sure what was going on. Like at first they thought we just bumped into each other and that it was a joke. So they were kind of laughing. But then they took a look at like our faces and realized there was something actually wrong. So they came back. We explained what happened. So with this area in Heraklion, you have the area that you walk by the fort and then below there's a dock. So my two friends, they take off for the dock where the boats are and where the phone like flew and fell into the water. So I'm trying to calm my other friend down, reassuring him. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I did not tell him that the phone was only 3 months old and iPhone 16 Pro. So it was
a new baby.
It was a brand new baby. The brand new baby was not even paid off yet. But whatever. So I'm reassuring him that it's fine. So I watch my other two friends. They're down on the dock and I see them talking to this old fisherman. Well, this old fisherman hands him this net And they're like, okay, we're going to try with the net. But where the phone fell, the water was really murky and you couldn't see anything. So my one friend's reaching in with the net, pulling up his sleeves. He has this beautiful linen shirt on. He's trying not to get it wet, like just trying. And of course, nothing's coming up. Well, my other friend, the one who bumped into me, is like yelling, like, can't you like go down any deeper? And they're like arguing back and forth. And we're
Man.
just kind of like standing there, like, I don't know what to do. So we started trying to come up with a plan. And my friend was like, well, if I had goggles, I could jump in after it. And before I could say anything, this English couple comes up to us, and this guy, total stranger, is like, oh, I have goggles. What do you need goggles for?
My phone.
Yeah, the fashion phone. So I explained what happened. I'm like, my phone like fell into this like port or whatever. The stranger's just like, well, I'll go get it. If you go and buy me a towel, I'll jump in and give it a shot and dive down there and see if I could get it. Well, this port, if you ever been to Heraklion, again, big city, there's boats everywhere. And it was like murky and gross where this was. Like there was no. So he's like, I'll like dive in and try to get it. My friend takes off to go buy a towel, and then the stranger, he walks down to the dock, and you see him like fighting with this old fisherman because the old fisherman's yelling at him, it's not safe, don't do it, it's not safe.
You couldn't record any of
I
this.
know, I couldn't record any of this. We do have a picture though, and I'll get permission from my friends. I'll see if I could like post it with the show notes or something, or post it on like our Instagram, because it is really funny. I'll ask them. I'm sure they'll say yes because they love the story. But so I don't really know what's going on. I just see them kind of going back and forth. Then this stranger, he just like strips down to his underwear, doesn't care, just strips down to his underwear. And now like a crowd of
Love
people.
this guy.
I know, he is my king. Like, he is crazy, but I absolutely love him. And if there's any way he's listening to this show, like, thank you for the best content ever. And there are people, like, gathering at this point, looking down. They're just like, what is going on? Why is this guy in his underwear on the dock? And the girlfriend, I'm talking to her. I'm like, can I buy you guys a drink? Can I buy you lunch? Can I get you a souvenir? And the girlfriend goes, oh, no, this is fine. He does this all the time.
Goes from port to port trying to, like, find phones.
Rescue phones. So my friend comes back with the towel. So we see him jump in this water. And it was kind of dangerous where it was because it was very murky. You have the dock there. You could get stuck under the dock. And we see him going down there like multiple times. I'm worried that he's not going to come back up at some point. And well, he couldn't find it. So then this guy, he climbs out of the port and he's bleeding from multiple places. And my friend is down there. She has wet wipes. She's trying to clean him up. They go down there with the towel and they're trying to clean him up. He's bleeding all over this towel. And I'm just like standing there. Like, it's been like 20 minutes at this point. Like, that phone is dead. Like, it's done. Like, there's no point trying to like find a brick. And then I'm thinking, because you hear all this like crazy stuff in the States about like flesh-eating bacteria. So I'm thinking that this guy's going to end up in like some hospital because he's trying to get my iPhone.
No.
It was insanity. So eventually I'm just like, let's just go to lunch. Like, I don't know what else.
Let's go get drunk and forget this day happened.
Pretty much. So like my friend, the one who crashed into me, he's apologizing again. And I'm just like, just come and do shots with me. I'm like, at this point, I don't know what else to do. So, and then the guy too, he was funny. He's like, do you guys want your towel that you just bought? And we're like, just keep the towel. It's fine.
It's your souvenir. It's your payment.
And then apparently when my friend went to go and buy the towel, the woman selling the towels was trying to sell him multiple different kinds. And he's just like, I need a towel. That's it. I don't care.
Give me what you got, lady.
Oh my God, it was such a mess. So then the four of us go to lunch and I'm just like, I'll just deal without having a phone for 2 days, but I have to let my family know, because if I just don't communicate with them for 2 days, they're going to be really like worried.
Because I was telling Michael and Samantha, I was like, I know Rachel's like at the end of the trip, but she hasn't posted anything on Instagram.
Well, I'm glad you were looking out for me.
And then I lost any type of Wi-Fi service. I couldn't even like contact you at this point.
No.
And then finally, when I got Wi-Fi again and I saw one of your posts, I was like, oh, she is alive.
It's okay. She's not dead. She wasn't kidnapped. It's okay. My God. So then we go to lunch and I'm just like, whatever. So my friend was like, well, what's your mother's phone number? Rosa, I could not remember her phone number. What's your father's phone number? I don't know. What's your brother's phone number? I don't know. What's their email? Well, I think it's this. And then we're sending it to all these random email addresses that are coming back undelivered. So people, make sure that you write down important numbers, write down important email addresses, and put them in your suitcase in the hotel. So I'm just like, I don't remember any of this. So eventually we did see, so walking to the port before all this, we saw an authorized reseller for Apple in Heraklion, miraculously enough. So I went and decided I'm gonna have to buy a new phone. And all my friends agreed, like it's a real pain to like get back without your phone. Just buy a new one here. So me, one of my friends went to the phone store. The other two kind of stayed back. And we went in and the guy, it was so funny. The salesperson's like, well, what kind of phone? I'm just like, just give me the
Just give me what you
16
got.
Pro.
It's
And
the
he's like,
cheapest thing.
yeah, I got the same one I had before. I'm like, just give me the 16 Pro. And he's like, what color do you want? I'm like, rose gold is good. And then he's like, do you want a case for it? I'm like, yeah, give me the fuchsia one. Well, my friend and the salesperson were like, that one's kind of ugly. Do you want the clear one? And I'm like, I don't care what case I get. I want to go back to the hotel and fix this. Finally, we get back to the hotel, and my friend had his laptop, so I was able to log in my email and get my mom's email. I email her and explain what happened. I give her my friend's phone number. So she did eventually call my friend, and she was kind of like laughing, but my mom's funny. She was like, Rachel, Amazon, they sell these like chains to hold your phone and keep it like tucked like in your purse or something, and they cost $6. I'm like, yeah, like this was like 1,000. I could have like had a $6 chain, I guess. I don't know. But so we had to go on the sunset boat cruise, which we had booked, which was really beautiful. And luckily we got back from the store in time because it was like when we left for lunch, it was like 45 minutes till our boat tour. So we like ran to the store. I bought a new phone. I just left it in the hotel room and then went on the boat. And my mom got in touch with me. So by the time we were on the boat, we were all making jokes like, yeah, you know, Rachel, don't like joke about this too much with your mom because she's fighting with Verizon and you're on a sunset cruise in Greece, swimming, enjoying wine, just like relaxing. But it did get to the point that day where we were like making jokes about it. Like we would be like, hey, like, go get my phone. I need to get a picture. So we did joke about it. But like during this whole time, I didn't cry, which my friends were actually kind of pretty impressed by. They were like, you didn't cry? I'm like, no, because what are you gonna do? It was
Yeah.
like an accident. And I don't want to make anyone feel bad. It was a total accident. I could see me doing that to somebody else because I'm like pretty clumsy, but yeah. So now I have my new phone here, my baby from Grace.
And every time you look at it, you think of this random stranger.
Random stranger stripping down to his underwear, just jumping in the harbor with all of these people. And in the picture, I'll send it to you. The picture, there's all of these other people like looking out and gazing over.
This.
And I showed it to my parents, and my mom was like, Rachel, you're like laughing at this guy. And you do see me up there smirking. And she's like, look at you. You're up there like smirking. You're wearing your like cute little dress and all. And this poor guy is risking a sepsis infection to get your phone.
For him, though. It sounds like he does this all the time. He's like, it's a
Apparently,
damsel in distress. Let me go
apparently
help
he
her.
does this all the time. He does this all the time. And I did give him and his girlfriend a big hug like afterwards, but I think we were all just kind of like shocked because the phone doing a little spin and taking a swim in the Gulf was like the least of the craziness with that. So, guys, word of advice, write down phone numbers, write down email addresses. Maybe make sure that you have a backup electronic device with you. Like from now on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my laptop with me always. So at least then I can communicate with iMessage and get like everything I need when I'm back at the hotel. Because the other thing that happened was I couldn't remember my Apple ID password because I'd recently changed it because Apple was giving me a bunch of crap about my password not being secure. So my friend's asking, what's your Apple ID password? I didn't know. And he's like, well, this is a problem. I'm like, yeah, I know it's a problem.
Go on Amazon and buy this $6 chain thingy that Rachel's mom recommends.
I know. Yeah, buy that and just like keep your phone close, man. Like anything with the phone now, because we really do use it for everything. So no travel fails with your phones, people.
Yeah,
It's
no.
it's
That was
pretty
the
dire.
worst. That is I think the only time I've had a situation, it was actually happened to me also. Like in Greece, we were in Mykonos and we did like a day trip to like a museum and my phone fell on like the marble floor and turned off. And it wouldn't turn on for like 2 days. So I'm
God.
like, and it's crazy because it wasn't like cracked or anything. So I was like, what is going on? So finally, like my friend found something like on YouTube on how to do like a crazy like hard reset like on the phone, and then all of a sudden you see the little apple come out.
So funny. I will say with this, my brother, when we were younger, we would always make jokes about Poseidon. It was kind of like an inside joke. Like whenever there was a storm down here at the Jersey Shore, we'd be like, Poseidon's angry or, oh, Poseidon's not happy today. So I think Poseidon was just like taking his due. He's like, this is because you talk so much crap about me as a kid. So now I'm
I'm
taking your phone.
taking your phone, sacrificing your baby.
Yeah. And then when when we were taking off, like you take off and you see that like area with the fort and the Gulf of Heraklion. And me and my friend flying back to Athens, we're just like, bye, Rachel Stone.
We live a good life under the water.
God.
I feel like this travel fails episode can be like a 3 hour long. So maybe this is a good time to wrap up part one because
Yeah,
obviously we have a lot of travel fails. So
we
hopefully
do.
all of our failure will help you succeed. But I'm just curious, has there been like one destination that you gave a second chance after a really bad experience?
Okay, so this wasn't the destination's fault. It wasn't anyone's fault. And I still have to give it a second chance, actually. But when I was in Berlin, there was a massive heat wave. It was like 39, 40 degrees Celsius. So it was definitely over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And obviously, there's no air conditioning anywhere. I was completely miserable. I just hated my time there because I was so hot. You could not get cool no matter what. The museums were really cool, and I went to a couple of those, but I do feel like I need to go back to Berlin and give it another chance because the weather was just bad. So it was one of those situations where it wasn't like my fault, it wasn't Berlin's fault, it was just like a bad weather experience. So I do think I need to go back and see the city properly, and I really hope that I do so in the future. So, not knocking Berlin, I swear. I'm just hoping to go back during better weather. But how about you?
For me, that's gonna be Greece. So the first time I went to Greece, I went with two of my girlfriends. So it was a perfect girls trip itinerary. We had plans, and we're gonna start off in Mykonos. Then we were going to Santorini. Then after Santorini, we were gonna end up in Athens. Well, while we were in Mykonos, little did we know, the same day where I dropped my phone, we were coming back from the temple. It was pretty late, and we went in the month of October, so it was like already the off season. So a lot of places were closed, but we found this one tavern that was still open, and we decided to pick up food to take back to our hotel room. Everything was great until the next day, where we started to kind of feel a little bit off. And at this point, we were going to be traveling from Mykonos to Santorini. So, first off, our cab driver dropped us off in the wrong harbor. He dropped us off like in a fisherman area, not where the boats were going from Mykonos to Santorini. So, after trying to figure things out, we somehow managed to communicate via like sign language, I guess, with someone that was at the dock. We realized that we were in the wrong area. He flagged down a taxi, took us to the right place. We got there with like 0 seconds left before the boat was like leaving. So we were the last ones on the boat. So we get in, we make it to Santorini, we have lunch. We decided we wanted to go see the sunset. So we take the bus to Oya. And on the way back, my one friend, she started to feel a little sick. And she tends sometimes to get a little bit sick, motion sickness. So we didn't think anything of it until we got back to the hotel where my other friend started to feel sick.
God
Then
almighty.
I started to feel sick. Three girls in a cave, one bathroom. It was not fun. It was not fun.
I'm thinking of that scene if you've seen the movie Bridesmaids, the one scene in the bridal shop.
Oh yeah, that
Yep,
was us,
yep,
basically. I
yep.
remember being like laying in bed, and it was like one bedroom, and then there was the third bed was like underneath like this really cool like cave structure. So my one friend was sleeping there. All of a sudden, I see her like beeline for the bathroom, and I'm laying in bed talking to Michael and Samantha, and then I'm like, yeah, they don't feel so good. I was like, maybe this is something they ate. I don't know, or like the crazy commute today. 20 minutes later, after that phone call, I was in the bathroom. I was like,
Uh,
"Ah." And the last thing we all ate that was the same was when we were like in Mykonos. So we're not sure if maybe like the food, because it's like late in the night, maybe it was rushed and the chicken wasn't cooked properly. So we're thinking might have been that, because then for lunch and for dinner, we all ate different things, but we were pretty sick for like 3 days. Couldn't eat, couldn't really enjoy. So everything we had planned in Santorini went down the drain. And then, right when we are starting to feel better, now we're going from Santorini to Athens. We get to Athens, we're in a cab. All of a sudden, the guy just drops us off at a train station and says, well, I can't take you past this because there's a marathon. We were like, what?
what? It's like this is it. It's like have fun. I can't take you past this.
Just
Bon
drops us
voyage.
off. Yeah, none of us had like international cell phone service, so we had no Wi-Fi, no way to kind of communicate. We couldn't like Google Map it. None of us speak Greek, so we're at the train station just trying to like figure it out. And like a lot of the words or like the name of our hotel translated like the names into an English version of the name of the place or the name of the street. So when we're looking at the map, nothing matched. So we're like, what the hell? So my friend Christina, so thank God for Christina, because she was like, I'm pretty sure this is the area. Let's just take this one train. And I'm like, you know what? We're gonna follow
We'll
you.
do it. We'll do it.
And sure enough, we made it to our hotel. But needless to say, anything that could have gone wrong went wrong on that trip. And this is when I first started doing like social media and Instagram. And I remember coming back home. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, you had the time of your life. Your photos look amazing. I was like, nope, that's the worst trip ever.
You like never know at all. Like if I didn't say anything about like losing my phone in the Gulf, no one would have known looking just at my Instagram unless
Yeah,
I told them. Yeah, like you can't tell from social media when stuff goes
exactly.
sideways.
And then I decided to go back to Greece, but the first time I went was 2017. And then we went back last year in 2024. After 7 years, I was like, all right, I'm ready to give Greece another try. And I got really sick. Nothing to do with Greece. It wasn't food poisoning. I just got like really bad like allergies or something was going on to the point that I couldn't even wear my contacts. I was like super stuffy. And I'm like, yeah, maybe Greece just doesn't like me.
Maybe it's me.
Me. I still had a great time, but I wasn't feeling 100%. And then I went back to Greece this year on like a last minute opportunity and had the time of my life. And now Greece is actually one of my favorite places that I've been to, even when I went last year where I wasn't feeling 100%. So yeah, so it turned around. I went from having like miserable food poisoning, thought I was going to die in a cave. If we remember coming back to New Jersey and like we all went to baggage claim, I don't even think we said goodbye. We just like parted ways.
Yeah, like that's the thing. If I'm like puking all over the place, I'm going to hide in my apartment. I'll be like, I'll see you sometime. I don't know when, but I don't really want to show my face anymore right now.
I don't blame you.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. But yeah, I had an amazing time in Greece. Like I had a great time in Crete. I would absolutely like go again. I have more islands that I want to see. It's a beautiful place. But I think the moral of the story really with this is that things happen and it's how you react to them that really matters because even things like this can happen at home, right? Like you can have accidents, you can get sick, something can go wrong. But as long as you're reacting in a productive way, it kind of stops it from getting worse most of the time. Most of the time,
If you're like me, just cry about it.
just cry. My credit card certainly cried. My credit card really cried hard and just like sobbed. Like, are you kidding me? 2 iPhone 16s in a year,
Yeah.
girlfriend.
Like I can laugh at it now, but trust me, like I was surprised I didn't cry when I spent so much money in Cusco, but you know.
Thing is too, I don't know about you, Rosa, but I feel like when it's something that I did, I'm much harder than myself than something that's like an accident or like a cancellation or something random. Like if I know I could have done something to prevent this mishap from happening, I react a lot worse.
Yeah, I just blame Michael and Samantha. Some way, somehow. It's always my fault. But even if it's not my fault, I still blame them. So thank you guys.
You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome.
They just look at me. They're just like, you know what? Sure.
I'm like, it's fine. It's my fault. It's fine.
I feel like this is a good place for us to end with some rapid fire questions, right, Rachel? Are you
Yeah, I am
ready?
ready. I am ready. Let's do it.
All right. So, would you rather get stranded in a storm or get heat stroke during a hike?
God, this is awful. I guess it kind of depends if people are with me or not. Like, I don't know. I guess if it's not a terrible storm, if it's just like a thunderstorm and I can hide, get stranded in a storm, because heat stroke, that stuff is just like flat out dangerous. Like, I don't want to be ending up in no hospital over heat stroke. But yeah, I guess get stranded in a storm because I don't hike anyway.
Guess I would say definitely also the storm. The last thing I want to do is get a heat stroke during hike. I'm already like out of breath because I'm out of shape. I don't need the sun to do any more damage.
No, make sure, guys, y'all, make sure you're hydrating during those hot days because heat stroke is no joke. Like, I have soccer season coming up and I have to do my module all about heat stroke. It's pretty serious. So, how about you, Rosa? Would you rather get pooped on by a bird or step in a mystery liquid with sandals on?
I guess I'm gonna get pooped on by a bird because some people say that's lucky.
Yeah, me too. Like, honestly, at least, and this is going to sound gross, at least if you're pooped on by a bird, you know what it is. Like, I step in Mr. Liquid, that could be anything. And it's like, I get pedicures and they're expensive.
We don't want that. All right. I feel like this next question is a little controversial, but I love it. So, would you rather sit next to a screaming baby on a long haul flight or someone who takes their shoes off?
So on planes, I am very heavily medicated on the long haul flights. Actually, I would probably take the baby because the baby, I feel like there's nothing they can do about it. Their little ears are hurting. I actually feel sorry for the baby. Like actually going over to Athens, my friend volunteered to switch with a mother because where our seats where you could put in a bassinet for the baby. And the poor baby kept getting scared of the bassinet and would cry. So I felt like so sorry for the baby. I was like making a fuss. I'm like, it's okay, it's okay. And I feel like babies, they can't help it. Whereas, like, some adult just taking their shoes off and their feet stink, I'm like, come on, you know better. Like, I have no patience for adults.
So, see, I am guilty. If it's a long haul flight, 99% of the time, I do take off my shoes, but I always have my feet tucked in, like underneath
Different.
like my bag, and my feet do not smell. Like, I do
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, and that's totally different. You're not like with bare feet, like kicking your feet up over someone's chair or
Never.
something.
I would
No.
never do that. But however, sitting next to a screaming baby, I'm a parent and no thank you. I paid my dues.
You're like, I did this already.
I've done that.
Rachel can pay her dues and take care of the screaming babies. I am not going to do it.
Feel about it. There's been times where I've had a screaming child next to me, and same thing. I'll try to help wherever possible, but I'm not gonna lie. There's also times that I see a crying baby like waiting by the gate, and I'm like, oh man, I wonder where they're sitting.
Yeah, it was so funny because the baby eventually did go to sleep, but the baby was like sprawled out, like half like in my lap, just like the like her little arms like flying back and all. And I'm just like sitting there, and I'm like at that point so drugged up and tired. I'm just like, it's okay, it's fine. I was very zen. So get motion sick on a bus or get seasick on a boat.
That's a tough one. Let's see. I feel like I've been under both scenarios and they both equally suck. However, I guess I'd rather get seasick on a boat because at least I can like hurl over the boat into the water. If I'm
That's
on a
true.
bus, it's probably confined, and if I throw up, it's gonna smell.
Yeah, that's like the worst. Well, I've gotten a little seasick on a boat once, but once I went up on the dock, it was fine. But yeah, you're right. At least you have the water. I've gotten sick. I've talked about this before on a flight, and I picture it being similar to a bus, and you just like throw up. But in a way, a bus would even be worse than a plane because at least the plane I had the bathroom. Like the bus, like what do you do?
Yeah. No. No, thank you.
Yeah, that happened to someone. This was years ago, backpacking trip to Ireland. One of the people on my tour drank too much the night before, and the bus had to stop and had to pull over, and she ran into the woods.
At least that was nice of the driver. Better than like throwing up on the bus.
Yeah, the tour guide was funny as hell, though. I remember clear as day the tour guide like yelling at her and being like, "You did this to yourself, love."
Love it. It's like you already feel like crap, but here we are. Let me make you feel worse.
Yeah, it's like you're gonna feel worse now.
I love it. So, would you rather be underdressed and freezing or sweating through everything you pack?
All right, I'm going with the underdressed and freezing because I could buy a coat. I can buy tights. I can buy a sweatshirt. Sweating through everything you've packed, you can't take clothes off unless you're the dude that I met in Heraklion. I am not stripping down in the
Take
middle
it
of
all
the
off.
city. No.
Drop me off at a nude beach and call it a day.
All right, we're gonna be seeing Rosa on Locked Up Abroad.
In the nude beach by accident because I did not read the proper signage.
I ended up in a park in Potsdam. It was like a nude swimming area, and it was all old people.
We'll save that story for our travel fails part 2.
Yeah, yeah. Part two's coming.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So, last one. Would you rather realize that you've left your phone charger at home or have your headphones die 5 minutes into a flight?
Let my headphones die. It's fine.
Okay. See, I'm the opposite. I need my headphones to block everything out. And that was like the most important thing with getting this phone replaced because I'm like, I can't do 10 hours without my headphones. I have to listen to the engine for 10 hours.
I sleep through the flight anyways. I'll be fine. But I don't want to spend money on like a charger. And usually, if you, especially like I have an iPhone as well, if you're buying like an Apple product, it's expensive overseas. So
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Yep. That's how I know. God.
Man, but that's a wrap, besties. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been a very wild episode.
Yes, yes.
Listening through our travel fails from
And I hope you still listen to us for advice because you're probably thinking, oh my God, these girls are not going to help me plan my trips. Like, just listening to them, there are messes.
aside from laughing, Hopefully, maybe now you feel a little bit less alone when it comes to your own travel disasters and failures. Take it from us, we travel often enough. And again, most of my fails are human error, aka blame Michael or Samantha.
My friends from now on, even if they're not there, even if it's just me solo, because it's their fault. It's fine.
Again, it's okay to cry. Just remember, those chaotic moments, they make for the best stories after the fact. Maybe in the moment, it might not seem like it, but trust us, you'll laugh about it eventually. So, hopefully, you enjoyed this episode. So, until then, make sure to follow us along on all of our Instagram stories. We will be posting more about this lovely episode. And stay tuned for part 2 for more travel failures from your favorite host. And as always, bon voyage, besties.
Bon voyage, besties. We love you. Don't lose your phone. Bye bye.